Hello everyone, I'm Xiao Gang. At this point, we need to start building the integrity. This integrity is another way of writing. We splice the URL through this place, and then this place will return such a key value. This section of work actually refers to this work. It's this work, this section of work. Then let me tell you how we splice this kn value. You can obviously see that saving won't work here. It can't be taken off, right? So here we only need this method in the end, but we actually have many segments. And these segments need to be exposed to the user. To be precise, not exposed to the user, but exposed to the developer, for the developer to use. So here we will break down these segments for everyone. Okay. We'll write these segments above. Okay. Then the first segment is obviously this API ID, but it doesn't really need to be set by the user. Yes, because this API ID, we go through blueprint, it is passed in from this blueprint place, so this part is not needed, and this TS timestamp is also not needed. Because if you write the plugin, you would have to ask others to fill in this kind of timestamp, and this kind can be filled directly. That would be quite annoying. So for something like this, we don't need to expose it to blueprint. Actually here, we should make it protected. Because we don't want this variable to be known by others either. That is, you don't need to. You don't need to care about this variable because this variable is generated through my built-in writing method. So this is our signature. This is after the MD5 basics for signature encryption. Then next are the business parameters. I'll just paste these business parameters directly. Just briefly explain them. Not very important. Because we mainly talk about WebSocket, voice communication. These parameters, everyone can just try them out. You'll know after debugging. I think it shouldn't be too difficult for everyone. So this is the language. That is, whatever language you use, you need to enable it. So obviously this means, let's look directly here. This corresponds to this field. Everyone can tell at a glance. That is the audio source you input. Which one exactly? And here it's CN, right? And right, if it's less than a certain type, Cantonese or dialect, then you can use this. This is fine. Okay, hey, there is a field here. This field is custom defined by us. That is whether we want to enable translation. Because if translation is enabled, the returned information will require an extra processing step. Okay, here we will only handle the exam 2. This field is not present in his because he only has these few types. If this translation is enabled, then actually only the following fields become meaningful. For example, a translation of this, press form type. This corresponds to this. That is, these parameters, these 3 parameters are only useful if translation is enabled. Okay, then our parameter here is used to control whether to include these 3 items below. Okay, let's just paste this thing in. There's not much to say about this parameter. Everyone can just take a look. Okay, then this is translated into the target language. These translation strategies and such. Then next, here's this fact. Let's take a look at this Chinese fact. What is this about? Just punctuation. That is, whether you need punctuation when recognizing. Right. And this PD is this vertical domain. That is to say, but this vertical domain, you might need some permissions or features. We'll just set it to null here. This vertical domain. And here, there are also some near and far fields or the type of character or the speech recognition mode. We flip these over. These are the parameters we need to use. Next, we write another method. Write a method to configure our encryption settings. So, okay, for this encryption, it actually only requires the API timestamp and this key. We'll write this method here. Because I noticed that this encryption method is only used once in this place. So let's see how this encryption works. It's still the same. That is appended plus timestamp. Then here, combine the 2 of them together. Directly concatenate them. After concatenating, perform MD5. After MD5 is completed, perform this encryption. Encrypt it using this API key after encryption. Then perform basics for encoding. Then after encoding, you'll get a field like these. Okay, so now let's write this encryption process. It's relatively simple, because it's more or less the same as the previous encryption. First, this basic thing. It definitely is. The basic thing is definitely in 2 or 3 encodings. After descending, we MD5 it, then displays. We need to do something to it. This method is called it is a. So this method, it seems we haven't introduced it to everyone. So we have introduced it to everyone before. How to encrypt this. As for this encryption, actually you declare a then you, in this place, declare one for it. Then, through one of its hashing algorithms, just pass it in, and it's done. So it calls this function, then pass in here the key we want to encrypt and the information we want to encrypt. The encrypted data will be here. Then at this point, we perform a basics for encoding on this token. This is our encrypted data. Perform a basics for encoding on it. Perform a code of such length. Enter it based on the length of the self-breaking pointer. Then after the encryption is complete, we also need to perform a layer of URL encoding on it because we need to put it in the URL. That's why we do this URL encoding. After the modification, this place of ours, this token will only then pass. So, are there any pitfalls here? I can tell you very clearly there are pitfalls here. The code you have now can pass. It's because I tested it for a very, very long time. For several days, I searched all over the internet for various materials, searched back and forth, and then discovered that using this kind of you use this HMAC-SHA1. We had 256 before. Encryption method. You need to use this kind of pointer and encrypt it in a binary way. You cannot encrypt it as a string. You cannot encrypt by character because if you encrypt by character, you will find that wide characters and narrow characters, sometimes and token and such may have issues. So if you write it the way I do, you can pass this encryption. But if you switch to other vendors, you will need to conduct multiple verification tests, like when we previously integrated AnyBot or other similar method. They all required extensive testing. You might see this and think it takes 3 minutes for everyone to learn this. But in reality, you need to do this encryption, which is very demanding. It still takes half a day or a few days. Sometimes if you don't have this information. Okay, good. Next, let's assemble this token. To assemble this token, first we prepare a string. Then we go to the place to generate this token. First, we need to store this API ID and the API key. We'll need it later. Then next, we get the timestamp. The timestamp is F8 our UTC time. Then to Unix time tab. Then we switch over here, switch to negative sides. Then we take this RPD, we copy it here. Then we also copy this timestamp here. Then we copy this token here. Okay, so these three fields, these three protected fields, we've actually got them done. These three fields, this is relatively simple. We'll write this encryption algorithm for you later, right? Then we take these three fields and just concatenate them directly. Because we have a question mark at the beginning of the first one. There is a question mark at the beginning. But we wrote the question mark here. You can see we rewrote a question mark here. So here we concatenate the first k in value. Then what you get is actually this thing, right? The first question mark exists. Then the second parameter we concatenate is this timestamp. And this is the actual signature. So obviously we need to reverse it at the end. Or this value should be it. Okay, alright, no problem. Then next we concatenate the others. If this field here is not empty, then we will concatenate it here. This is fine. Because this is a required field. It can be either empty or not empty. We will write it like this here. Then if we enable translation, then these fields are required. We just need to concatenate these fields. And at the same time, this is not empty. This PUAC is this thing. If its punctuation is not empty, we will concatenate it, right? Because it is not empty or a field like long. And similarly, what is PD? PD is this specialized domain. It is not empty, or it is the long segment. We also splice it all. So in this place, this VD man is its default child. We give it 1. As long as it is not the default child, as long as you change it, we splice it on for you. Right. These are all relatively easy to understand. Okay, good. Okay, so then our other arrangement. Actually, it's already assembled. Then let's compile it here. There should be no issues at all. Okay, let's check the time for this lesson. Next, let's open this and test it. The translation feature. It has a trial version. This thing, this free account has each account. It comes with a 1-year usage allowance of 5 hours. And this is more than enough for us. Isn't it completely sufficient? Everyone can apply for an account. Just try it out. Also, note that its translation feature only seems to be available for 1 week or 1 month or 2 to 3 weeks of use. So this translation cannot be used on our end. But rest assured, there is no problem with this interface. Everyone can just use it. Then we are here. We are here to prepare such information. Then we are here. If we need to prepare, let's see. Let me think about it. Then let's just use the button method. I need to get our gateway here. Get game instance. Okay, let's cast to. Everyone might have forgotten. At the beginning, we wrote a BP game. Let's take a look. Get game instance. Here, we actually have a game instance. Right here, what we wrote at the beginning for this game instance, we mainly put a few server strings in it to make it convenient for everyone to manage key information. You'll get them instance. Then we need to cast it to BP. Oh, it doesn't seem to let me cast here. I wonder why. Let me try casting again. Cast. Oh, it's strange. It still won't let me cast here. I've already called it out here. The reason it won't let me cast might be here. It seems we forgot to specify. Our game instance should be from a long time ago. Here, we go to game instance to specify this game instance, and we mainly put a string here. For our convenience in testing and using, well, here if we succeed, we promote it to a variable. As our BP JAMA instance, we delete all these spaces. It sometimes likes these spaces. If spy, we need to issue a warning. Let's put a warning here. That is, the game instance is not specified. Okay. Good. Next, we will take this variable and use it. We can get it. Get these, get up. It should be. This is the training flight tab. Because training flights are actually different. The key information for the function interfaces is not quite the same, but in reality, some of the key information is the same. That is, some interfaces are the same. We use the pull and twist here, and then our parameters here. Actually, they don't need to be concatenated. Not concatenated, no problem. Here, we need to do a make. Because if we don't concatenate, actually it just uses the defaults. Right, let's not bother with it. Okay, this way, we don't need to worry about the language. Okay, then regarding this part, actually, okay, now let's test it for everyone. Let's see if we can open it. Okay, press 1 to test it. Okay, you can see it's still showing an error here, right? Let's check what this error message is. It's quite obvious. I haven't specified this value here. Let me assign it for everyone. Okay, as you can see, the site is empty because it seems I cleared it when I made the courseware earlier. So this site is empty, and if anyone needs to test, you need to fill it in on your own. Okay, I'll fill it in here. Let's test it again. Okay, I've already filled it in here for convenience. We can also add another 2 kablis like this. Then let's adjust the stop. Let's wait a moment. And now let's test. Press 1. Then you'll see it's already successful now. But actually we haven't sent any audio data. Then after about 10 or 15 seconds, the server will close because it's waiting for you to send this data. So now we just wait for the server to close. Because you can see the server has already closed. Look, it reports an action error. This error message means the client timed out. This situation occurs when you haven't sent audio data. So we also detected this information today. The final exit code does not indicate a specific reason. We'll just leave it alone. Okay, we'll ignore the agent here for now. Don't these people have several agents? We can ignore it because we haven't activated these agents yet. So this agent event is actually not needed for now because when it fails, there will definitely be some information. Right, now let's try to close it. For example, I've already verified successfully. Then I press 2. You'll see it's closed, right? You see an NGL will pop up here. This NGL means the client side did not send data, right? This proves that this is a situation that meets our expectations. Okay, alright. Then we'll end this lesson here. We mainly explained this integrity mechanism to you and introduced a new encryption algorithm. Thank you everyone.